Wine is pretty much the only alcoholic beverage that is meant to be opened and consumed in one sitting, but shared with multiple people. It's just as much the people who are sitting there and sharing it with you as the story of where it came from. And that's one of the most beautiful parts of the beverage, of the culture.
Welcome to Uncorking What's Next. I'm your host, Jeff Zachariah. I spent 40 years in the wine world, and right now may be the most exciting time to be in it. For 4 decades, I led Zachys, one of the most trusted names in wine. Along the way, I met winemakers, collectors, and thinkers who changed how I see this world. Because wine has always been more than what's in the glass. It's about connection, curiosity, and the stories we share. I'm really enjoying uncorking its future together with you. Today, my guests on the show are Sabrina Miller and Rachel Anderson, the co-presidents of the Harvard Business School Wine and Cuisine Society. This past year, they ran over 40 events. Harlan, Colgin, a champagne masterclass with Antonio Galloni, and a dinner with Daniel Humm of 11 Madison Park. When I was reading their calendar of events, my first thought was, this isn't a student club. This is what I used to do when I was at Zachys. Sabrina grew up in Bakersfield, California, escaping the heat on weekends with her family in Napa, and fell in love with wine around her parents' table. Rachel drove to Trader Joe's to buy 2-buck chuck when she was in the Army flight school. Then she got stationed in Germany, where her love for wine really began. And both of them are sharing exactly what we should be asking. Where is this industry heading? Stay tuned. I think you're going to love this one. Today's episode is brought to you by La Tête d'Or, the French-American steakhouse from legendary chef Daniel Boulud in Manhattan's Flatiron District, serving one of the best lunches in New York. I had the pleasure of working with Chef Boulud over the years, hosting wine auctions together at Restaurant Daniel and dining at many of his amazing restaurants. I've never been disappointed. So I was very excited to see what he's created at La Tête d'Or. It brings together the spirit of classic American steakhouse with refined French flair. Great steaks, incredible seafood, and a fantastic wine list. If you're in New York and looking for a memorable lunch, La Tête d'Or is absolutely worth a visit. It gets my highest recommendation. So Sabrina and Rachel, I know this is a really busy time for you, the end of your second year, so thank you for coming on and taking the time with me today.
Absolutely. So
Sabrina, I have a couple sort of opening questions. Did both your parents work outside the home when you were growing up?
Yeah. My dad is an entrepreneur and started a small oil and gas services business, and my mom was an X-ray tech. So they were both outside the home, and a lot of times my mother's parents took care of me a lot as well. So I had a lot of influence from them as well.
It takes a village, right? It's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. And did you grow up with wine around the table?
I grew up in California, so very close to Napa. The area that I'm from is called Bakersfield, California, and it's very hot. And so we would escape a lot of times, and I would go with them, kind of just sit with them around and Napa on the weekends. Major wine lovers, love the area, and it's just something that's been a part of my life growing up for my whole life.
Yeah, that's great. And you went from NASA to deep tech, and now at Harvard Business School. What drew you towards wine so much that you wanted to be running this society?
Yeah. So I was in the Bay Area, so also I got to be back and forth and take advantage of my parents' memberships at the wineries in Napa. So that was big, especially coming in college and right after college with limited funds. It was something to do on the weekend. And I also felt like it was a way that I got a bond with my parents. And it was a really fun way that we got to be together and also be a part of their experience. And it was just a new type of conversation that I felt like I got to be around. And so taking that into HBS, like it's really exciting when you get to bring these kind of conversations and kind of like relive like you're falling in love with something, a passion, just like I did with my parents.
That's one of the things I love about wine is how sitting around the table, it becomes such a wonderful part of conversation and part of life. It just enhances so much of what I do, and clearly, Sabrina, what you do as well. And now you're on the competitive blind tasting team as well, right? And you place second internationally?
Yes.
What does it feel like to taste blind? Is it something that it just comes intuitively to you, or is it a skill that you've really had to work at?
I think there are some people like naturally better than others. Like my mother is naturally really good. My dad tries a lot and my mom just get some.
So you grew up blind tasting.
Kind of like it, maybe like on a fun way. But I think for me, it's like I've worked. I think it takes a long time to really develop your palate. It's not something. It doesn't matter how much. Like if you do it consistently, like every day, you're not gonna. I think it's like in 3 months you might be a little better, but it really just takes time to like map out how wine specifically hit your palate. But it's a very humbling experience because one day you're just on, and the next day you're calling different regions. It's super humbling some days rather than others. So it could just be a luck of a draw type of day, or could be like, maybe I am getting better.
Yeah, and while you're doing it competitively, it's one thing, but otherwise it can be a lot of fun, right? As long as there's no judgment involved. But what I remember is Michael Broadbent said to me years ago, who's a very famous auctioneer, the most successful way to do a blind tasting is to have a peek in the kitchen ahead of time, which I thought was very funny, and could be a lot of fun. So for sure,
start using that one.
Yeah, good. And Rachel, how about you? Did both your parents work outside the home?
My dad was a physician, and then my mom was a nurse and transitioned into selling pharmaceuticals. And we moved from Georgia to Colorado. And at that point, she decided to kind of stay at home and take care of more of the household things because her region as a pharmaceutical rep would have had her gone a lot of the time. But I was lucky that I got both of them at home a lot and spent a lot of time with them growing up.
Fantastic. And was there wine around your table as well?
Very similar to Sabrina. There was definitely wine around the table. I don't think my parents weren't collectors or anything, but they enjoyed having a glass with dinner every night, and it was definitely a common thing in our household.
Yeah. So, that's so interesting because certainly I'm in that collector world as well, but you don't need to be a collector to really enjoy wine at all. That's the beauty of it. It's fun to collect if that's what you want to do, but it's definitely not a requirement, right? And Rachel, you had a really interesting pass in West Point, a helicopter pilot, and then off to Germany. How did you find your way from there into your passion for wine?
Looking back, there's no like one event or turning point. I'd always kind of grown up around it, as I said. And then when I was in flight school, I was still very new on my wine journey. So we would drive to Atlanta, I think was the closer Trader Joe's, and I would stock up on $2 Chuck. And so
great way to start.
That's what I was drinking in flight school. And then when I moved to Germany, wine became much more accessible, both at a price point and also just in terms of regions that I lived close to. So I started traveling a lot for wine, visiting different wine regions. And looking back, I'm not really sure what it was that kept drawing me in, but I would go and visit these wine regions and go on these tours. And it was often me. I was like, maybe 25, 26, and then a bunch of like 65-year-olds, but
men, probably mainly men too, correct?
A lot, yes.
Yeah.
But I loved it. And so I kept visiting and exploring while I was stationed in Germany. And that really started, I think, kind of my own personal journey with wine.
And you're going to be doing a harvest at Domaine Dujac, I read, right? Before starting a career?
Yeah.
I mean, you could be doing lots of things before starting your career. Is there something that you're looking for while you're doing that?
I really wanted to do a harvest just because it feels like a cornerstone experience in the wine world to some degree. And even though I'm not on a path to go into the wine industry currently, I wanted to take the time, if I could, to be able to do that. And it didn't seem like there would be another opportunity to have the month of September off. And I think with wine, a lot of my journey has been, there's this kind of interest, and I just keep pulling at the thread to see where it goes. And I'm not really exactly sure what the end point. I just kind of keep following the passion. And so this is another example of I've kept following the passion. I'm extremely excited that I get to harvest at Dujac. It's incredible that it's taken me here, but I'm not really sure where it's going. But excited to kind of see what's next.
No matter what, it's going to be an amazing memory that you'll always have.
Absolutely.
If we can talk about the Wine and Cuisine Society for a little bit, I was, as I said, I was so impressed. You ran over 40 events this year between Harlan, Yakem, Colgin, a champagne masterclass with Antonio Galloni, dinner with Daniel Humm of 11 Madison Park. When I was reading this, I'm thinking, this isn't a student club. This is something at Zachys we used to do, this many events, right? How did you pull all that off?
I've been fortunate because I'm a JD MBA that I'm here for 4 years. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but the silver lining is that I took over the club the beginning of last year and I've been able to run it for 2 years consecutively. Normally, every HBS student just has 1 year. So I think we started with a pretty solid background from the work that the presidents did last year. And I was able to be a bit of a continuity piece to give us a leg up. All of the co-presidents have worked really hard to do outreach and go to things like Venus Icons and meet people in person and kind of foster those relationships.
And build the aura and the presence of the society.
Exactly. And also, I mean, we're lucky that we have the Harvard name behind us. It's a place that people want to come and present their wines. And we have a really wonderful student population that is interested in fine wine and interested in exploring this world. And I think that's a customer segment that resonates with a lot of these people.
And what's your pitch when you go to Yakem or Harlan and you try to bring them onto campus? What's in it for them? How do you sell them on this?
It's more so like as the conversation's going, we had said, we would love to have you, love to have you on campus, and we'd love to have you present your wines to our students, and understand also all of these wines up for these events, they're donated from the producers themselves. Like that's a huge.
It's a huge commitment from them, and they don't do that easily. I know because we've tried from the commercial side. So that's kudos to you all.
Yeah, and it's I think it's like along what Rachel said. It's a special experience, and it's a special customer segment that is really interested in wine and really wants to be connected to a few like wineries and stories and like they're on the right kind of age area of their wine journey where like they're kind of past the beer cocktails, like, they want to be a little bit more sophisticated. They're about to go back into have an income again. And so it's kind of like this right little moment where they want to really be involved and they're in a learning experience or their learning environment. And they want to connect with new brands and wineries. And this is like the perfect, I think, place to do it. So I think like for customer lifetime value on the winery side, I think it's great for them. And I think from the student side, they get to really understand what they like and what they don't like, and really get to connect like with producers themselves or winemakers themselves. So it's a super special experience.
That's great. I would also imagine that you have people who have done a lot of studying and are much more experience with wine, and others who are early on in their arc of learning and becoming passionate about wine. How does that work when you bring in a Harlan or some amazing producer when you have this big range of experiences that's coming into it?
We do intro to wine sessions, and just to like kind of get people that kind of going, like knock down some barriers. Like something that's really important to us is knocking down as many barriers that we can.
Yeah, that's great.
Wine, especially for young people, there is a lot of people are scared to jump in or scared to really experiment and also voice their opinions around wine because they're scared to be wrong because there's so much to know. Like the barrier of entry can be so high.
Barrier of entry appears high because it's not, right? Because everyone's opinion is their opinion, and there's no wrong opinions in wine. That's the beauty of it all, right? But yes, it has that perception. Is that fair?
No, 100. That's exactly right. And I think also the producers that have come in have been so gracious and so kind. Even if it isn't, or even if you have a Will Harlan coming in, he is like, hey, there are no wrong answers here. Like everyone's on a journey. No one has truly mastered this. Everyone's a student, and so you come in with kind of in a safe place and get to learn, and just enjoy, like have a super pleasant experience.
I'd say that the intro to wine events that we do are really cool. It's incredible to see the interest. I think there's a lot of data in the industry showing kind of the market contracting, and a lot of that is due to our generation and the generation behind us. I feel like when we've met the students where they are and kind of strip it down to make it like, hey, like this is something that you can learn about and this is an inclusive industry, nothing to be afraid of. There's a ton of interest. And like Sabrina said, our producers are great that when they come on campus, they really talk to the students and like help them meet the producer and the winery like in a very educational setting. All of our tastings are geared to be educational. So I think the beauty of it is you can come in not knowing anything about wine, and then after a year of being in the club, like leave with a really solid foundation.
It's so interesting because I have not thought about what I'm about to share in 30 years, but I had a similar experience, right? When I came into wine as a young man, I really, yes, we had it around the table a little bit, but it wasn't a focus of our family. And I came into the business and started meeting producers, and they were just as warm and welcoming then as they welcomed me, and it made me very comfortable. And I'm glad to hear. I haven't even thought about that until you brought that up, and it brings back such warm memories. And so, yeah, it's great to see they're still doing it. It's so important for everything that's going on. Is there any event from this year that you are all really proud of? Something that's a great feather in your cap?
I think the Harlan event this year was probably the big one. I just cold outreached Will over the summer and he responded, which was incredible. And then we, like both Sabrina and I have been working with him over the past, 8 months, I guess now to bring that event to life. And it was incredible to have Will Harlan presenting the Harlan Estate wines. They did a 6 vintage vertical, and they ended up bringing 33 750s and 3 magnums.
Wow.
Which is more than some countries get in their yearly allocation. So that was very much a pinch me moment. I couldn't really believe that happened, but it was incredible and I think memorable for every single person that was there.
I think also Antonio Galloni's Champagne Masterclass was so good, like so cool. Like everyone was just enamored. He also knows where his audience is at and so engaging and so helpful to the students. And we got such positive feedback from that event, as well as Bruce from VHR. That was a really good one. He is just a breath of knowledge and just had everyone truly excited and also excited to visit Napa as well. Like people are asking about Napa trips, like moving forward. And so I think they've done such a wonderful job of getting our members excited, not only about their wines, but like they want to go experience it themselves. So I think those are some pretty special events as well.
It's definitely hard to pick one because like Sabrina and I are fortunate to have met a lot of people and have really close relationships.
And now here's a little bit of a tougher question. What was one of the events that didn't work as well as you expected or along those lines?
I know one where we served, I think it was like the pours were heavy. I won't say which event it was, but the pours were really heavy and we served about like 8 glasses and they were supposed to be like small pours. And we, to be quite frank, our students just got hammered by the end.
I know it.
I was like, and we couldn't keep the audience anymore. And I was like, oh no, okay, we need to really watch when their pours because it was a lot.
It's an event and it has to be properly managed, right?
Yeah, that much wine in the education session, they're just chit-chatting, and that was a learning moment, definitely for me, to wait to do a lot of the big pours until like the informal part.
And I know you both came to talk about other events to one of our Zachys auctions earlier this year where I met you. And how did that feel to you? Was it intimidating? Was it exciting?
It was definitely exciting. I was glad I did not have a paddle because I was like, I don't have an income yet. I cannot be bidding on these wines, but I just wanted to have one. It was really cool to see that side of the industry. I haven't really been involved with auction houses at all. looking at the secondary wine market has been really interesting, and I think will be really important for our generation and millennials who, we're used to buying stuff on Amazon and it comes 2 days later. And I think that when it comes to our wine, we might have similar shopping experiences in mind, and places like Zachys can really meet that consumer demand of, I want this wine now with this age on it. So that was really interesting to see.
It is really a very different part of the industry. Important, but it's certainly a niche, but important part of the industry. I don't know if, Sabrina, you had any thoughts from your experience there?
It was my first time attending an auction, and it was such a fun experience. I was like, man, I would go to these just to hang out. I think the environment and the liveliness and the excitement is just something you can't help but smile when you're there.
Right.
You can't help but, and you get involved in really cool conversations. And I think like the experience in that of itself could be, it was amazing.
This episode is brought to you by the Wine Market Journal. If you buy, sell, or collect fine wine, you already know that information matters. I've been in the fine wine business for more than 40 years. The Wine Market Journal is my one source of truth. It tracks actual market prices, not opinions, not asking prices. Real auction transaction data from across the globe. Plus, it has great filtering capabilities, so you can easily see the data that is relevant for you. I spent decades in the auction business, and I can tell you, understanding market value changes the game. If you're making decisions in fine wine, make informed ones. Visit winemarketjournal.com to learn more. Plus, uncorkers can get 10% off their first year of a standard, premium, or professional annual subscription. Just enter uncorking in the promo code field at checkout. Can we talk a little bit about how your generation thinks about wine? I interviewed Laura Catena from Catena Vineyards, and one of the things she was talking about is teaching young people, and clearly your parents have, how to appreciate wine the right way, around the table, with food, in moderation. Do you see that happening with most of your members in the Wine and Cuisine Society?
I think they're definitely more about appreciating. We also really try to build community and build events that are fun and exciting. I think that sometimes maybe the wine industry hyper indexes on being a little academic. And we definitely have a lot of that in our club. Like, all of our events are meant to be educational. But we also really try to bring in culture and bring in community as well. So have our members appreciate the wine, but also just kind of pulling people together, which I think is one of the magical things that wine does. We also will do happy hours and small dinners so people can meet each other, as well as we did like a champagne and house music night. So trying to bring in other parts of culture and make wine fun and exciting, which I think in its best form it already is.
I know a lot of business schools making connections with the other students, and that's a wonderful part. And as the wine events really enhance that, or has it just been another aspect?
I mean, it helps me personally, because just like when you're saying there's a bottle around the table, conversation becomes easier. You're able to connect people on a much deeper level. And that's why we do that informal session afterwards. So you get to learn, and then you get to not just like talk with the producers on one-on-one, but also chat with each other and be in a space where kind of like all barriers are down, class is done. You actually get to meet new people and learn from new people and chat with more people. And so I think putting in that part of the session has been a really great idea. I think we just started it. Was it last year where we said, okay, any open bottles, like let's finish and just enjoy amongst us.
Great.
It has been such a great connecting experience.
Which is what exactly what wine's all about. I also, when I interviewed Vitalie Taittinger from Taittinger, and I asked her how she's trying to target the younger generation, her comment back to me was, I have 4 kids and they're all different. I don't feel there's one way to target the younger generation. So I'm curious if you guys agree with that statement, or if you think there are certain things that the winery should be doing.
I mean, there's no one answer for anything in life, especially in business, and with such a diversified consumer base.
But we want all these short clips, right? These immediate clips, which gives you the answer in 10 seconds.
I think that leaning into experiences will be super important for the wine industry, especially as our world gets more digital with AI. I think that something that my generation is kind of yearning for is more connection. And so I think similar to what we try to do with the club, but fostering community and fostering these experiences will be really important. But I also think structurally, the industry might need to change to kind of meet a different demand profile, like I was alluding to earlier. I don't think millennials or Gen Zs will be having 5-bedroom homes with massive wine cellars. I think we'll probably be in smaller apartments with a really nice 50-bottle wine fridge. And how do you change things like allocation lists and distribution to meet a generation that's buying wine differently?
Yeah. What do either of you think that the industry gets wrong in reaching out to people your age?
I think with the allocation list, like you get so much pull. I think with our generation, they're kind of like, they're asking a lot of the producers this question. They're like, yeah, it's going to be a wait, which is, so fair and how it's always worked. But I do think that's hard for a lot of people our age. Or like, hey, like I'm willing to put a lot, like this is a lot, like this is a lot of money, especially at my age, but I still can't purchase. Like I want to be a part of this. I want to, and
you want to enjoy Harlan.
I'm having to wait a few years and I might just go somewhere else. And so that's like something that I'm worried about, with how the wine industry is structured today, is this exclusivity going to keep up with our generation? And like this kind of like scarcity exclusivity where only like I think it worked in previous generations, but I'm just not so sure how well it's going to do with ours.
I completely agree. I also think that there's certain people that have come into the industry that are trying to make wine almost like something else, like a canned cocktail or something. And I'm not sure if that's the answer. I don't have the data to maybe back myself up, but I think that.
But it's your gut, right?
Yeah.
And that's an important piece of data as well.
I think our generation is interested in wine and fine wine, but it's more like making the space something that is exciting for them, meets them where they are, instead of trying to make wine something else.
I think there's a perception of our generation and the millennial and Gen Z that, this could be like the nail in the coffin for the wine industry because they're moving away. They're saying that there's issues health-wise and there's a lot of bad marketing for the wine industry. People have been maybe not drinking wine as frequently for our generation, but when they do, just like Rachel's talking about, like experiences and stuff like that, when they do, like it's typically fine wine. Like they're going to spend money on like that experience.
Yes. Yep.
And they're
drinking less, but drinking better.
Exactly. And so I think that plays well for the fine wine industry. I do think that like it's not a full step back. I just think it's a different way to consume.
How are people in your generation, how do you see that they're learning about wine and making their buying decisions?
Social media more than like critics. And I think when you're in person in the store, it's also kind of who is there working, and even things like ChatGPT, I think, are going to play a bigger role as people try to explore and make decisions around wine, whether that's in a restaurant or in a retail store.
My friends will be like, oh, yeah, they'll take a picture of the wine list at a restaurant and be like, here are the type of wines that I like. Which one, given that like these are the other types of wines that I like as my preferences, which wine should I choose? That's a new way of a new way of finding wines and consuming. So I thought that was like really new and very interesting, and what an opportunity as well for a lot of producers and to be able to show their or connect in a new way.
And I love, using AI, especially as it gets to know you and your tastes, certainly is a very interesting way, but I'll continue to encourage people to use the sommeliers and in the wine stores, because they're just, at this point, at least, I think they're still going to do a better job. If it's a serious wine store, a serious, and you develop a relationship with someone, they're going to be out there exploring and finding those new things, and with passion sharing them with you. Personally, I like nothing more than going into a restaurant and saying to the som, I'm in the industry, I know a lot about wine, share something that's really new and exciting, right? Because they're going to know their wine list much better than I am. And so, and at this point, I don't see AI replacing that.
I definitely agree. I think like AI make it be very good at learning taste and matching you to a wine based off critic scores or whatever. But I do think AI misses that part of wine that is so distinctly human in terms of both when you consume and kind of making stories and moments together, but also learning about the wine and where it came from. That having someone in a retail store, having a sommelier, like really enhances that kind of human aspect of the wine. So I agree and hope that those are not dying professions, but something that stays in the industry for a long time.
I also saw that you hosted a Women in Wine session, and I'd love to hear what prompted that, and also what it's like for the two of you to be in a culture that, let's be honest, for many years was male dominated.
The Women in Wine event was something that Sabrina and I had been thinking about, I think just because we don't know the whole history of the club, but in my memory, we've never had two female leads of the wine vertical. So it was something that we wanted to highlight and celebrate other women in the industry. I've always been particularly passionate about gender equality. Especially with my background in the Army, like I'm very used to being in male-dominated environments. And that's really kind of engendered this passion for trying to make spaces more inclusive wherever I am. And we were lucky to get some really fantastic women that came to the event, and like everyone picked a wine to share, and they shared why they picked that wine and why it was special to them.
It was super special. It's very inspiring because trials and tribulations, a lot of these women had to go through to get to where they are, but also like all the shoulders that they stand on, and the stories of all like their mentors and from both men and women, I thought was incredible, because not only do you get to learn from them, but you also get to learn from the lessons of the shoulders they stand on, essentially. And that was so cool. And also, how should I approach being a mentor to other women in the space? How can I best foster that connection?
Great.
And I think, like, for next year, and two of the co-presidents that are going to lead the wine side are also women. And so it's very exciting for us to pass that torch off. That hopefully we've created a space that women feel excited and empowered to be in.
It was also really cool because we brought in women from all different aspects of the industry. So Saskia de Rothschild did our opening remarks, which was incredible.
Amazing. She's as great as they come.
And then we had Nicole Roulette kind of talk about more the running the winery. And then we had Jamie Dutton, who does more of the events and stuff with La Palie. And then Kathy Hugh, who started Enolytics, which is a wine data company. And it was moderated by Lauren McBate, who is a partner at Tribeca Wine Merchant. So we had kind of retail, production, events, data. And it was a really interesting conversation to see how these women have taken this same passion and gone so many different directions with it, and have an open conversation about bringing more equality into the space and supporting one another and supporting the generation behind us.
And when either of you go to wine events, are the things that are still making it harder, putting up barriers that shouldn't be there?
Typically, if I have a glass of wine in my hand, I'm not intimidated by almost anything.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, like Sabrina's worked at NASA and done incredible things with her career so far. So I think
all I've felt is consistent hands like wanting to be grabbed for us to reach up. And that also, I think, for us has really flown through us into how we treat a lot of our members as well. So it's really been reflected and hopefully and as shown with our club.
I think the wine industry has worked very hard to be more inclusive, to both women and people of color, and I'm proud of that. And we still have more work to do, but it's really there's been a real openness and a willing to learn. For both of you, is there a woman that really inspires you? Someone that you watch and you learn from in the industry?
Megan Becker, she's such a force, and also such a force for women.
I really admire Anne Colgin. I don't know her personally. Out of people I know personally, yeah. I mean, Megan is dynamite. She's incredible and so kind also too. But I think Anne's story and her career trajectory and the time that she started making wine was, that was not a common career path, especially for a woman. So I really admire her story and the legacy that she's built behind her and the brand that she's built. That I love that. So
moving forward for both of you, I know, Sabrina, you're founding a startup in the energy space. And are you going to continue, which sounds unbelievable and super exciting, but are you going to continue formally wanting to learn about wine? Do you see it as a parallel path, or is wine going to become just a passion? I shouldn't say just a passion, but is it going to become a passion, a true passion?
My dad is in the energy space and has been an entrepreneur in the space. And I've found my way back into kind of merging energy and deep tech. And I just love it. With that, wine will always be a huge, not just passion in my life. Like, I plan to be involved in wine as a vineyard owner later in life as well. Wow. Like, I also want to, Rachel's doing a harvest at Dujac. I'm trying to see if I can take off a couple weeks to do a harvest. I don't know, startup world is hard, so we'll see. But it's something that it's not just that I want to consume, but really be involved with. I love being around it. So there's no really option of a step back. I think it's always just going to be rooted throughout my journey.
And Rachel, I know you're doing a harvest at Dujac, then going into private credit. Do you think this will help give you an extra leg up in private credit with your passion for wine?
I'm not sure it will give me a leg up career-wise in terms of maybe the day-to-day, but I think what is something that I never expected when I took over the club last year is just the kind of people that I've met through wine. I kind of joke, people ask me, what's the best way to try to find a job at HBS? And I say, just try drinking wine. The people that are in the rooms, whether that's at a trade show or at a dinner or someone that we've had on campus, a lot of the people that are interested in wine and are the generation above us, it's a meaningful point of connection that you can open up and be really genuine. And similar to Sabrina, I don't think it will ever not be part of my life, but I'm still trying to figure out in this next chapter how I stay involved and still contribute, even when it might not be my 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, it could become your passion, not necessarily your profession. And in some ways, that's even more fun. Rachel and Sabrina, I really appreciate your time today. Before we go, I have 3 last questions that I ask all my guests. And you can answer either both or however you want to do it. I'd love to hear one early moment that really brought you into wine, something super exciting that brought you into wine.
I just turned 21. I told my dad that I didn't like red wine.
That must have been painful for him.
Oh, yeah. And he was like, you know what, Sabrina, it's because you're in college and you keep drinking box wine. And he was like, you don't like red wine because you don't drink good red wine. And from then on, every time we were at dinner or at a table, he always made sure to order or bring out a really nice bottle of red wine. And so
I want to meet your dad. He sounds great.
He's awesome.
He's fun.
Was there a moment either at HBS or traveling or through the wine club where you felt wine was really going to be something truly meaningful in your life?
Yeah, I had the privilege of getting to visit Moët when I was in Champagne right before moving back from Germany. And while I was there, I bought a vintage 1993, which is also my vintage.
Beautiful.
And I had been saving it. And then when I turned 30, my first year at HBS, I went with my 2 best friends on a little mini trip to celebrate together. Because their birthdays are somewhat close to mine as well. And I brought this bottle and we opened it together one night and just sat outside on the beach and kind of reflected on the past 3 decades of our life and our friendship and what we meant to one another. And then also talked about kind of the next decade and what we wanted for our lives and what we were looking forward to. And I think that is a moment that really exemplifies a lot of what I love about wine, is kind of bringing people together and celebrating these milestones, both big or just small kind of celebrations of friendship. That was a moment where I knew, like, wow, this will always be part of my life, and I want to always be involved and share this with people in some capacity.
I love that story. That's such a beautiful story, and that's exactly what wine is all about. And I encourage you to buy more 83s, champagne or whatever. There's lots of great wines to continue that tradition, maybe with the same 2 friends every 10 years. What a fun thing to do. That's fantastic. Last question is, please share some advice for someone who feels that they don't belong in wine.
I do think something that really helps nurture your passion for wine, if someone is interested or wants to be in wine but not sure how, is really focus on the stories of the people at the winery. Like, I think that is so special. Knowing like how the wine was made and the stories of the people behind the wine.
Sometimes generations old.
Yeah. And then also, but it's such a, like when you open a bottle and you know what happened that vintage and you know the stories behind the wine and you get to share that with the people at the table. Like, that's also, it's a great experience for the people at the table. It's also a great experience for the person to, like, relaying the stories. So I personally am, I think you should make sure to take the time to really understand the people behind the wine.
I would say 2 things. The first is that I think everyone's palate is different, and wine and its best version of itself is actually a very inclusive space because there's so many different palates, there's so many different customer segments, and there's a wine pretty much out there for everyone. So don't be fooled or afraid of people who say, oh, well, this is the best wine or this is a good wine, because I think that's a deeply personal question. And the second I would say is very similar to Sabrina's answer, but I think of wine almost as an infinity symbol, or if you put 2 wine bottles cork to cork, it would look like an infinity symbol. And on one side, you have the story of the wine, like the people who made it. People call it liquid geography or a time capsule. Like, it's very much a story of a certain place and time and people. And then on the other side of the symbol is, it's meant to create stories. So it not only is a story, but it's meant to create them as well. Because wine is pretty much the only alcoholic beverage that is meant to be opened and consumed in one sitting, but shared with multiple people. And so I think if you're just getting into wine, or maybe you feel a little intimidated by it, it's to remember that it's just as much the people who are sitting there and sharing it with you as the story of where it came from. And that's one of the most beautiful parts of the beverage, of the culture. It's not, cassis or tobacco or chocolate nibs or whatever people are talking about. It's more the moment and connection, both with who made the wine and also who you're with.
And as we said, wine has such a rich history to it, and sometimes going back 4 or 10 generations. There's a lot to talk about in the history, everything going on. Sabrina and Rachel, thank you so much for your time today. I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate your insights into what the future generations, how they're looking at wine. I hope you both continue on your paths and your arcs, and wine continues to stay a passion for both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
This podcast is sponsored by the Durant Corkscrew. If you enjoy mature wine as much as I do, you know how challenging older corks can be. Even with experience, they don't always cooperate. I still remember the first time I saw a Durant in use back in 2012. I was gobsmacked. It solved a problem I and every serious wine drinker has faced. It is as close to foolproof as I've ever found for opening bottles of wine with older corks, and now I keep 3 of them on hand. Here at Uncorking What's Next, we're giving a Durant away. Just share with me the story of what made you fall in love with wine. You can share it by email or Instagram. Over the summer, we'll be picking the best story to share on the podcast, and that person will win a Durant. And if you'd rather not wait, you can order the Durant directly at www.thedurant.com. Well, you've made it to the end of the episode. Thank you for listening all the way through. I've already gotten some nice feedback, which I greatly appreciate. And I also want to welcome your feedback as well. Please email me or send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram. Share with me if you like the show, what I can do better, and any guests or subjects you think would be interested. I'm really curious. Plus, if you like the show, I will be grateful if you rate it. I, Jeff Zachariah, am the producer of this show. I'm still connected with Zachys Auctions as a consultant and auctioneer and helping to bring in consignments. But this podcast is not in any way connected with Zachys. I also want to thank everyone who's made this podcast possible. I want to thank my daughter, Josephine Zachariah, my son and his wife, Tom and Alyssa Zachariah. All three are in the wine business, and I'm grateful for their thoughts and insights. My good friend, Christian Kuipers, for the artwork. My daughter by choice, Hannah Tobias, for the music. Soraya Perry, editor. Amelia Lankus, social media and marketing. My YPO Forum for the continued encouragement to step out of my comfort zone and make this podcast. And finally, for my amazing wife, Frederique, for her continued and constant support. Thank you.